Have you ever written a letter, like when you're writing? Have you ever written a letter down when you're writing, as one does? Have you ever been writing and you mean to capitalize a letter, but then you don't? That wasn't intentional. For example, let's say I'm trying to write a sentence like, my name is Lucas. Well, guess what, idiot? Lucas is supposed to be capitalized. And so, especially in cases where you don't have a pencil, you need to awkwardly capitalize the letter. Yeah, that's what we're ranking today. We're going to be ranking letters based on how easily you can capitalize them. I really hope I can find a better title than that for the video. We're going to start with the easiest ones and get down to the worst ones, because I feel like it'll be funnier that way. To start us off, the easiest letter to capitalize, and the first in S tier, is L. Done. Unless you want to be fancy and weird and do the little tail. Oh, look at me, I'm so cool. I did the little tail on the end of the L. But it doesn't really matter because you can still just kind of do a line anyway. So, yeah, L is by far the easiest. It's only downhill from here. After L, we have V, which goes from this to that. I don't really have much more to say. After V, it's pretty self-explanatory. We have W, which goes from that to, you guessed it, that. These three are the easiest to correct by far and cap out our S tier for this ranking, because you can fix all of them without any problems overlapping them or having lines jutting out, because that's not a part of W. W doesn't have a line doing that. This moves us into our A tier, which begins with the letter B. And the only reason I haven't put B in S is because sometimes the little bump down here at the bottom of a lowercase b is smaller than like the remainder of the letter up here. So it can look a little bit wonky, right? If we're being generous, right? But that's still pretty good. I don't know why there's this gap here. I'm just terrible at drawing letters. Like, that's a good example. That is a lowercase b that's been turned into a very clear, normal capital B. However, because of this one flaw, I'm willing to put it in A tier instead of S. Following B, we have I, and some of you like to do your capital I's like this, in which case you're off way better than me. I do them like this, but I feel like either way, you're still doing a line through the I, so it's not going to be that big of an issue. The only reason I have I underneath a bunch of other ones when in reality it should probably be higher is because some people are weird and they like doing a big dot, which is a bit harder to cover up, but it's not the end of the world and it takes up relatively little space on the capital letter. Not terrible, but not perfect. This next letter is going to make it obvious that this tier list is based on the way I personally write the letters and not a general consensus. I didn't do a survey before doing this tier list. I doubt anyone would care. But number 6 on this list is the letter U, because I have the little tail on the end of it. So when you try to capitalize it, it's still going to have the little tail there, which might get in the way. I know some people that do it without the tail, right? They do it like that, and that looks better than this. This is how I do it. I don't think it's that big of a deal either way, although the tail does intrude a little bit. But this is still a bit thin for you. You're supposed to be pretty thick. This U probably needs to watch his calories a bit. But the tail juts out on my U, which is why it's at number 6. Following U at spot number 7, which is the best number, is the letter K. Now this is what I think is a good lowercase k, which means that if you try to capitalize it, you do only add on, but the intersection point is down here, when in reality I feel like it should be a bit higher than that. Right? Let's be careful so that I don't add a third K here, otherwise I might get a bit of trouble. But I think it's a bit less excusable than U because, right, like this is more easily discernible than like this. It's like, I don't know, this just doesn't sit as well with me. This is a country, by the way. That wasn't even intentional, that's just how I wrote it. At spot 8, this may come as a bit of a surprise, but I actually have the letter H. Now, this might be a bit hard to fix, but I believe that H is on the underrated end of letters that are easily fixable. Because especially if you do it like, I don't know, I feel like that's not that bad considering what lowercase h looks like. And if you do it a bit like stockier, it becomes even better. It almost kind of looks like a bridge, right? Like you got like a little, like you got the supports and then you got the shore. And then it's like a little bridge, and you have your cars going along it, you know? That has nothing to do with where I put it on the ranking. I just noticed it. I don't know. I think H is one of the less intrusive letters, and I think it works pretty well. That moves us out of A tier and into B tier. And our first letter of B tier is R. I feel like, you know, you can just extend this line here and then connect this here, and then this little tail kind of just turns into the R automatically. I feel like it works. I feel like it works pretty well. I think it's good. I think it belongs at the top of B tier. What comes after, I honestly had way higher in A tier before this, until a friend pointed out to me that it doesn't work as well. And that letter is J. Now, originally, I went, oh, well, it should be right under I. The tail might add a bit of, you know, messiness to it, but that's so easy of a fix. But that's when I remembered, but that's when someone, I can't do it. But that's when someone pointed out to me that you write a lowercase j like that on the line, right? Like if I'm writing Jose, it's below. So if I'm capitalizing the name Jose, that still works, but honestly, I would have drawn the J like that above the line. So I feel like it docks points from it, but it's still not that bad. If someone showed me this, I wouldn't be all up in arms about the J being beneath the line. I probably wouldn't even notice it, to be fair. So I think that makes it a bit excusable. Our next letter is a bit less excusable, and that is F, because, I don't know. It's not all that. Now that I'm looking at it, I might have to move it even lower. Because that's pretty ugly. What comes after F? Okay, no, actually, that can stay right there. Now, some people don't even curve the F as much as I do, right? Like, if you curve it like that, you're in a bit of trouble. But I feel like when I'm writing lowercase f's, I do it more in a sense like this. Like, that's a good lowercase f coming from me. And I feel like it's not the end of the world, right? Like, you have a bit of a curve up here that intrudes a little bit. And then you have this sticking out here, but it's not the end of the world, right? Like if someone wrote like a capital F like that, that looks like a capital F. I don't really care that there's a line sticking out on the side. So it's not the worst offender on this list, but it's still not great. Rounding out B tier is the letter Z. And if you call it Z, that's okay. We all make mistakes. This one poses a bit more of an issue to me than F because, I don't know, it's like, that bothers me a lot, especially when people write the number 7 like this. I feel like that can get a little confusing. I don't know, that one bothers me a bit, and I think it deserves to be a bit lower on the list. Now, starting out our C tier, we have kind of a similar situation to V and W, and that's N and M. N is at spot 13, and M is at spot 14. And the reason being that I think N is a bit more forgiving than M. I think because you only have one little loop to deal with, whereas M you have two. So similar to V and W, it's just the extra effort that puts it lower on the list. If I'm writing them a bit larger, again, I think N, you know, it, like this is annoying, right? But we're at the point now where we don't have the luxury of easily being able to fix it anymore. And M is simply just that much more effort to fix, and it still looks a bit cruder than N does. I'm describing letters in this way, letters of the alphabet in this way. God, what am I doing with my time? After those two, we have O, which is kind of funny because we were so close to having it being M and O, but it's just not. O is a bit weirder to me because you have that there, and then you have that there. I feel like that's pretty weird. The reason it's in C tier and not much lower is because, like, you could do a silly O like that, right? Like, it's like a shiny, bubbly O, you know? Like, shading and stuff. I'm willing to, like, forgive it a little bit, especially because the ones below it are just that much worse. But you can obviously look at that and you won't be confused on whether or not it's an O. O does have traditionally the issue of being confused with 0, which is why I write my zeros like this. But we're not here to discuss numbers. Numbers aren't part of the equation today. That wasn't an intentional pun. Following O is the letter C, which is kind of just a worse offender, right? Because this looks almost like an E. That's a pretty bad example. I think it's just kind of a worse version of O, right? Because with O, again, you can kind of excuse it for being this blocky letter, whereas with C, to make it that blocky letter, I feel like you need to, like, put in a lot more effort than you would. That is a terrible blocky C. Because with C, I feel like you have to put in a lot more effort to make it this cool, cartoony little blocky letter. Whereas this is pretty, like, all you need to do here is move the O up. And then the C, you kind of need to, like, move it out and add some more lines. I don't know. I think it's just O, but more cringe. Now, we're in D tier. And this is where letters start to piss me off. To start, we're going to go with T. And I write T like that. If you write T like this, it's kind of the same thing as L. Oh, look at me. I'm so fancy and cool and shut up. Nobody cares about you. But this is not how I write T, so it's not going on the list. However, this is how I write T. And that's a capital T. I don't like how it's a double-sided F. This was originally higher because I was like, oh, you know, it's just one line right here, right? Like compared to like M or something, it's like this has the 2 lines and it's kind of ugly. But this one line bothers me so much. Like, oh, I'm just trying to, oh, like, what's a proper noun that begins with T? Trudeau. We don't usually get political on this channel, but here we are. But if I try to capitalize it, it's like, Frudo? Double F for Frudo. I don't know. It bothers me a lot more than it should. Next up is Elon Musk's favorite letter, which is X, which I would have put up higher because all you really need to do is extend the lines. But the issue is, again, where it's written. Because of this line, if I simply just extend the lines, it kind of does that, which isn't the end of the world, but it is really weird looking, which means to fix it the way I would, I have to extend it upwards only. And that X looks really freaking stupid. It's not as stupid as this X, but it's still pretty freaking stupid. At spot 19, we have D. Originally, I had it even lower because I was correcting it like this, and I don't know, that just looks terrible. But once again, I had a friend point out to me that you can kind of just weasel it like that, and so that's not as bad to me. In fact, you can almost kind of make the excuse that it's like a fancy D with like the double lines or whatever, but I don't know, the little circle down there is enough to make me put it this low. Following D, and this one kind of caught me by surprise because I just didn't expect it to be this low, is S. Because you can't just extend the lines or just say, well, it's the same letter, it needs to be taller. Which means that to fix it, you kind of have to do that. And I don't even know what shape that's trying to be. Maybe it's like a yin-yang, but with like a little visor down here. No? Too much creative interpretation? S is just kind of this weird one that just exists.
Shimmer.
It's like, that's kind of excusable. I don't really know. It does get on my nerves. And looking at what we have left, the remaining 6 letters, I think this is a deserving spot for it. Next up is Markiplier's favorite letter, if your humor is stuck in 2015, and that, of course, is E. I don't even know where to begin with this one, because how do you, like... It kind of looks like it has a big nose. You can kind of get away with it if you do your E's really, like, scrunchy, like that. If you're writing it pretty fast, you can get away with that pretty easily. But I feel like a good lowercase e, the whole is pretty clear. Nobody take that out of context. And so this just doesn't look right. You know, I don't know. That just, it really does look like it just has a big nose. That's pretty funny. Now begins F tier, the most despicable of letters. Not that letters can be despicable. I guess if you arrange them in a certain way to make despicable words, you can classify them. But the letters in themselves, why am I debating morality over letters of the alphabet? Okay, let's move on. Spot 22 gets itself the first letter of the alphabet, as of course is A. And I didn't think this one was going to be as low as it is, but when you really look at it, like, God, that is horrible. I don't really know how you're supposed to correct this, because the only thing you really have going for you is how the little A's, like tail, kind of slants like a big A, right? You can kind of cap off the top, but then you're left with just this bulbous sack underneath it. This is probably a bad way to describe it. I think that's more inexcusable than E's big nose. I don't know. It's just really ugly. And if you write A like this, right, then you're in a whole heap of trouble, because maybe you can do that, but that's just the same thing, except uglier. A's pretty bad. Especially for, leading the charge that is the alphabet. Then we have P, which falls into the same issue of where it is placed. Except I believe this is far more inexcusable than J, because if I try to fix it, I can't, okay, let's do a Disney movie. Pocahontas. Pocahontas. I'm not even fixing that. I don't care. If you try to capitalize it, this is clearly not a capital P right now. You can't even, fix it in a way where it's capitalized unless you do this. But that's still under the line and too small to be considered capitalized, in my opinion. Which means that if you want to capitalize it, you got to turn it into this amalgamation of a B with a tail, and everything about this is off. Pocahontas. I don't know why Pocahontas is so funny. It just turns into this really wonky looking thing that I feel like is pretty inexcusable. You might think that was bad. You might think it can't get any worse. You're wrong. We still have 3 more letters to get to, and all 3 of them are so bad that I genuinely don't know how to arrange them. So, the third worst letter to capitalize in the English alphabet is G. Because, like, what do I even do, right? You have the issue of it being underneath the line, which means that when I'm trying to capitalize it, what is that? Whee, look at me. I just did. That actually looks kind of cool. This isn't a G, right? And that's not what it would look like because I'm trying to capitalize a G. So it would look like that, and that looks pretty silly. What's that freaking note look like? The one that's not what it looks like. I forgot what it looks like, but you know what I'm talking about, right? That note. Is that what it is? It goes like that or something. Musicians, don't flame me, please. I'm not smart. It's just awful, right? We can all agree that's deserving of spot 24, if not lower. However, I'd like to argue that there are 2 letters that are worse. Next up is Q. Brace yourself, because we run into this same issue. What is that? Why is it making a trapezoid? I just can't think of a way that it, like, makes any sense to write it this way, right? Like, it just... I don't understand it. Does it look kind of cool, like as a shape and a form and a line? Yeah, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to discuss how functional the letters are, not how cool they look. This was originally my last place. And then I realized that there's one letter so awful that not only does it not have any overlap, but you can't even disguise it at all. And that letter is Y. Why did they design it like this? Why? You have the same issue that's been stacking up against a bunch of other letters with it being underneath the line, which means that if I want to capitalize it, like, I've seen some people make the argument that, oh, you know, you can just do this. That's a capital Y, right? Well, you do that. Oh, you. No, it's a fancy looking big lowercase y, not a capital Y. There's a difference. And that difference is that this is a capital Y with a straight line. This is a lowercase y with a slanted line. You don't mix them up because then it looks disgusting, which leads to this massive issue that is very prevalent in today's society, that lowercase y is genuinely impossible to turn into an uppercase y. There's no lines I can connect it to. I just have to write an uppercase Y over it. There's no overlap, no fluidity, no connection. It's awful. So, in conclusion, thank you for watching.